Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I have a 24-year-old daughter, Lily, and a 26-year-old stepdaughter, Anna, who really is not a nice person. I do not think I would have married my husband if she had been younger when I met him, but she was 17 and looking at colleges across the country. Lily and Anna have never liked each other, but within a year of getting married, Anna moved across the country and lived with her mom through college. She did come back when she graduated, but she had her own place, so they were never really forced together. Lily began dating James when she was in college, and she fell very in love with him. I always had a feeling like she was more invested in the relationship than he was, but I tried to be supportive. James and Anna supposedly didn't like each other, and Lily thought that he was standing up for her, but I felt like it was some tension. I did gently warn Lily, but she just didn't see it that way. Well, Anna and James ended up having an affair. I don't know how long it lasted, but he proposed to Lily during that time, and Anna moved in with a boyfriend. According to Anna, they broke the affair off around the time he proposed, but they got back together and they are now married with a new baby. Lily went through absolute hell. I made it my mission for her to never be forced to be around them, so my husband and I spent holidays separately. My husband always has an excuse for Anna, but that doesn't surprise me because he's always seen her as his little princess who can do no wrong. I did not go to Anna's wedding. I have no intention of going to her child's events, and I will never force Lily to accept James and Anna. The cheating happened 2 years ago, and I thought we had a good system worked out, where they don't have to see each other and Lily knew I was on her side. Recently, Lily has been bringing up that she doesn't like her stepdad because he raised Anna, and she thinks I need to divorce my husband over this. I told her that was completely out of the question, and he is just being loyal to his daughter, as I would do for her. She keeps bringing up that I should have left my husband when this happened, and I told her that I am not willing to discuss Anna anymore. We all made our decisions, and my relationship with my husband is not up for debate. So, info. Can you go into more detail about how your husband feels about this? How do the conversations you have with him about this go? How did he react to the news? How does he talk about it or around your daughter? He says it isn't Anna's fault. They were in love. Things just happen. When it came out, he was more concerned about Anna and if James was using her. He cheated on Anna's mother and is a combination of a romantic and a cynic. He has the attitude that life is complicated and things happen, but then that love absolves you. He doesn't talk about it to Lily, though when it was new, she was calling Anna a B and an S, and he was visibly annoyed and walked away. You're the a-hole. Your premise is a little misleading. Your stepdaughter's adultery doesn't exist in a vacuum. I assume that this would be a matter of not wanting to gossip when you talk, not wanting to engage in negativity. But this adultery has directly affected your daughter's life. Anna literally stole your daughter's fiance, and quite frankly, I'm surprised it doesn't change the way you feel about your husband. Not because he is merely Anna's father, but because you're saying he doesn't think Anna did anything wrong. I'm not saying you should get a divorce, but I would feel incredibly betrayed if you were my mother, even with the separate vacations, because at the end of the day, you're still going home to him, a man who doesn't see anything wrong with his daughter breaking up your daughter's engagement. At least you didn't go to the wedding. You yourself said you might not have married him if Anna had been younger, because you could see the additional damage that could have been done to your daughter. Everyone sucks here. Your daughter is wrong to ask you to divorce your husband. Your husband, however, doesn't seem to understand how Anna did something wrong and is making excuses for her when she did something so egregious. It's like he's condoning or enabling the hurt of what Anna did to Lily, and that's not a stepfather or father figure to Lily. A good stepfather or person would see how their daughter did something wrong and try to make the daughter a better person by owning up. He didn't do that. And I'm not sure you two are handling this right. You enabling him to acknowledge his daughter did nothing wrong. The response isn't to just have two separate things. It's him owning up to what his daughter did to yours. So if your husband is willing to deprioritize your daughter like that, the question is this someone you want to be with? In that way, it's not a big stretch your daughter is asking you to divorce him. Are you in effect condoning his actions through silence or an unsustainable short-term plan? He doesn't respect your daughter enough to care as a father or stepfather should. The more I write this out, the more I'm turning into you're an a-hole, But I think it's still everyone sucks right now. Your husband still has time to rectify the situation. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is being ridiculous thinking you should divorce your husband because of the choices of his grown adult daughter. I have one younger sister who has 3 kids in their early to late teens. She has horrible financial sense and a ton of debt. About 6 years ago, our parents passed away. They left my sister some investments in a managed fund, which are worth over $300K, but she can only access a small amount, around $20K, once every 6 months. I think this was an excellent idea, as in the past when she has gotten large lump sums, she has blown through it rapidly without paying off debt. Case in point, about 6 months after our parents' deaths, my sister's husband passed away, and she got a life insurance payout of almost $250K, and she spent it within a year without paying down her mortgage, paying off student credit card debt, and then got behind on her mortgage and the bank foreclosed on her house. Our parents left me their house. I had specifically asked for it so I could rent it and use it as collateral to buy a house of my own. It was only worth around $250K at the time and was recently valued at $320K. After my sister ran out of her husband's life insurance, I let her move into my parents' house in what was supposed to be a temporary arrangement while she found a job. She was a stay-at-home mom. I let her stay for free, excluding expenses. The house is relatively small, only 3-bedroom, and she has been complaining since she met her new boyfriend that it's not big enough, especially since she is now pregnant. I've given up on trying to get her to move out. I've recently bought my first home. I had a decent deposit, but will still have a mortgage of around $250 a week. It is a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom place, so that my fiance and her daughter can move in with me, and I will convert the extra bedrooms into a studio for my fiance and a workroom for me. My sister has found out about the new place this weekend, and immediately asked when they would be moving in. This shocked me, considering I had never suggested she could live there. Obviously, I refused, and she's now blowing up my phone, calling me selfish, and that her growing family need the space more than me and my gay girlfriend, and her fatherless daughter. I flipped my stuff when she started insulting my partner and daughter, and told her that I would be contacting a lawyer on Monday to arrange evicting her, and that she had been living off my generosity for 5 years, and I was sick of being there for her. She's obviously beside herself, and her boyfriend has been sending me angry, aggressive emails about how dare I kick out a pregnant woman. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. I'm shocked you let her move in the first place. Good for you for helping, but you've done more than enough. Not the a-hole. Your sister is an adult woman who chose to flush her money down the toilet when she could have paid off her house. Also, as an adult, she can look for her own place with her boyfriend. Your sister seems to have gotten a lot of help and doesn't appreciate it. Not the a-hole. OP, if your sister spent the $250,000 of life insurance proceeds within a year or so after husband's death, without paying off any debt, investing it, or having anything to show where the money went, then there is something very seriously going on in your sister's life. You are very wise to get a lawyer and evict her from your home place. But I would time the eviction as to when she is eligible to receive another payout from your parents' set-aside investment funds. Doing it this way will show the courts that she absolutely has funds to move and would not suffer any financial hardship due to lack of funds, especially because many states have stopped evictions. As far as moving into your home, hell no. With life comes choices. With choices comes consequences. Let her suffer her own lousy and sucky life consequences. So I, 37 male, lost my mom back in 2016 to cancer. At the time, my mom owned a small piece of land that her father and his wife lived on. In her will, the land was left to my sister and I, with a life deed that said as long as her father or his wife, as far as I'm concerned, she was more of a grandma to me than my mom's mom ever was, so I will refer to her as Grandma here, were alive. They had a right to live on that land. My sister and I 100% support this. Last week, I get a call from my grandma's daughter, letting me know that my grandfather had died 3 days prior. Apparently, his daughters, my aunts T and J for this story, had convinced my grandfather to sign over possession of his mobile home that he and his wife lived on in my property while he was in hospice. When he died a couple days later, they immediately had him cremated with no service and intentionally did not let my sister or I know that he had passed. They did the same thing when my mom's mother passed, so this wasn't too unexpected from them. However, I then found out they were trying to claim the land was theirs as well. They have served my grandma with an eviction notice while she is in the hospital. Eviction notice was just a letter they wrote and signed. They also almost emptied my grandfather's and grandmother's joint banking accounts and may have had him sign over his life insurance policy. This last part I am not 100% certain about, as I haven't seen documents on this, but it wouldn't surprise me. As sleazy as it is, I don't know if I can legally get the signing of the mobile home reversed. I went down over the weekend and took photos of the property when I found out not only did they post no trespassing signs on my property, not the mobile home but the land itself, and a for sale sign for the mobile home and land. This thoroughly enraged me. When I called the police, I was told they would not intervene as this was a civil matter and needed to be dealt with by the courts. So I took down the for sale sign, went home, and typed up my own eviction letter and posted it to the trailer, basically stating that with a change of ownership of the mobile home, it was now illegally parked on my property and that it needed to be removed immediately. I also stated that my Aunt Jay, who is now the owner of said mobile home, would not only be responsible for the costs of removing the trailer, but for repairs to the property as well caused by the trailer, resodding the yard under where it sits. Had they tried to simply claim my land was theirs, I would have only gone to court and defended my ownership of the property. But they instead are ducking over my grandma. I'm very angry right now, so I ask you to judge me and let me know if I'm in the right or in the wrong. Would I be the a-hole for filing a motion in the court to stop them from selling the trailer while it is on my land and forcing them to remove it at their cost? Not the a-hole, and start that paperwork immediately, not only to cover you, but to help your remaining grandmother. If you're in the U.S., there are federal laws against elder aggression, which would cover both what they're trying to do and possibly what they have done. You can't neglect the elderly person when you are the caregiver, but you more importantly can't use their money for personal benefit, such as stealing their savings and using it yourself. Or it sounds similar in what they're trying to do to your grandma. I'm not a lawyer, but I'd find one that specializes in these sorts of things. And if your grandma doesn't have the state of mind to fight it herself, you may be able to have yourself made into a temporary guardian or representative. I don't know the technical term for it. I don't think they can just legally take over your land, but also talk to a lawyer about that. Some states have laws that if you live on land for a certain amount of time, you can claim ownership, but it sounds like you had an agreement that will protect you. But you want to make sure you have official notice so that doesn't happen. Hope you can get this figured out and help your grandma and protect your land. Last, if they do have ownership of the trailer now and they've gotten your grandma out of there, definitely evict their lying and cheating butts. None of their BS will go through in court once you take them to court. He was under duress and not in a proper mental state when he signed it over. This will be easy to overturn. Not the a-hole, but get a lawyer and sue their butts. Stealing from old people on their deathbed is immoral, and there are very likely a couple crimes that happened. My husband passed away suddenly in February of 2020 of a brain tumor, just 3 months after being diagnosed. I, 37 female, was 6 months pregnant at the time with our first child and was a complete train wreck and couldn't function. My parents and in-laws made the executive decision to move me back to my very small hometown, which was 600 miles from where my husband and I were living. It's been good. I work remote and my parents are retired so they can watch my baby while I work. A lot of extended family, including 2 cousins I grew up with, and friends still live here and have been super supportive. I developed a friendship with a guy across the street named Josh, 27 male, and earlier this year, our friendship turned romantic. We kept it quiet because I felt guilty over dating just a year after my husband died. We got engaged in July and announced our relationship, and everyone, including my cousins, expressed how happy they were for us. Well, a couple of weeks before our wedding, I went to my aunt's home, the mother of my cousins, and she asked who was coming to the wedding. I ran through the short guest list and mentioned her daughters. She had a strong reaction and said, "Do not invite those two. They are a couple of miserable bees." I was pretty shocked and asked why, and she just said, "Don't do it. You won't want them there, trust me." So I called her son and asked him what in the hell was going on. Apparently, these cousins that were just so happy for Josh and me had been completely raking us behind our backs, saying things like I must not have loved my first husband if I moved on with Josh so quick, and that he must just be interested in me for the life insurance money, $40,000, because why else would he want me? and that he would just end up dumping me for someone younger, since I am 11 years older than he is. I was really upset and uninvited them from the wedding. They came over and apologized and tried to frame what they said as concern. I told them that I didn't care to hear it and reiterated that they aren't invited to the wedding. Well, they showed up anyway, and I asked my brother-in-law to escort them out. They made a huge scene and were very embarrassed that they were kicked out. They are now calling us a-holes for publicly shaming them, when they say all they did was express concern over Josh's intentions. I say that it was none of their business, and Josh had no reason to give them any pause, and has never done anything to make anyone question his intentions. They were just being mean because they are a couple of catty bees. But they think I owe them an apology. I refuse. So am I the a-hole for embarrassing my cousins by having them kicked out of the wedding? Not the a-hole. They weren't invited. They knew why, and they came anyways. They want to start crap up. Send your aunt a huge thank you bouquet for the warning. Not the a-hole. They were talking smack behind your back, so you, rightly, uninvited them, and then they were entitled enough to show up anyway, probably thinking you wouldn't dare to have them thrown out. Nah, they embarrassed themselves. Don't apologize to people like that. Not the a-hole. Even their mother called their behavior out. You don't owe them an apology. You don't need them in your life. Tell them to go duck themselves and go get on with your life. It's what your first husband would want you to do, especially telling your cousins to go duck themselves. My mom's parents divorced when she was little, and growing up I had 2 sets of grandparents. I never really questioned it, because I assumed the marriage didn't work out considering they were high school sweethearts. A couple weeks ago I went to stay with my mom's mom because both my parents are essential workers. My grandma invited me to share a bottle of wine with me, and I, being a teenager, agreed. She ended up telling me what happened between her and my grandpa. Apparently, he cheated on her with a married woman, my other grandma, and moved cities to be with her. He abandoned his 4- and 2-year-old daughters. I was shocked, considering that those grandparents are extremely conservative Bible-thumping Christians. I was furious, but I didn't say anything because it was 40 years ago. Today, my mom decided to video call them. Her and I gathered around to talk to my grandpa and his wife, Gigi. He started going off about politics, and my mom left the room. He made a comment about how the gay people are going to burn in hell. Without thinking, I replied, "Right next to the adulterers." I hung up and my mom was furious. She scolded me for bringing it up because she was over it. Apparently, my grandpa apologized to her on her wedding day, and they'd made amends by being good grandparents. I felt guilty, but I still find it hypocritical. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and oh my God, this is glorious. You didn't directly say he was a cheater. You just pointed out his own poisonous rhetoric back at him. Good. He needs to learn to sit down and stop judging others. Also, orientation isn't a choice, but being a cheater and a hypocrite is. There's a part of me that wants to assign a mild everybody sucks here. But I'm also sick and ducking tired of conservatives who have very strong feelings on what other people deserve for what they do, but who maintain mile-wide loopholes for themselves and the politics they support. So, not the a-hole. He needed to hear it. Not the a-hole. Grandpa is definitely an a-hole, but so is your mom. The fact that she scolded you because she's over it seems very self-centered. You said what you said because you have feelings about it. It's not all about her.